So the reason to record it, the reason to speak on this verse is the past 1 week, Kumarika Mataji has been speaking about the advent of Krishna, the various pastimes of Krishna, the various facets of Krishna. And in this week, I'd like to go about different aspects of the sweetness of Krishna. And what do we understand by the sweetness of Krishna? Yeah. Any problem? So what do we understand by the sweetness of Krishna? Different people have different perceptions of the sweetness of Krishna. Some people think of sweetness in the terms of the appearance or the physical features of Krishna. Actually, there is nothing called as the physical feature of Krishna at all. Because Krishna is totally non-material. So he has a transcendental body, but nothing like a material body. But when we talk about the sweetness of Krishna, there are different devotees who view certain aspects of Krishna as the sweetness. And when is it that they view the sweetness of Krishna? When Krishna appears in front of them. It is given in the scriptures that Krishna can appear in our minds. He can appear in our chanting, and Krishna can appear in front of our own eyes. This very same mundane eyes, which is made of some retina, the rods and the cones, etc. In front of that, Krishna can appear. When Krishna appears, what is it that great saintly persons actually feel about him? What is the sweetness quality here that they actually feel about him? So to understand that, I'll go through certain sections of the Srimad Bhagavatam. What you see here is the appearance of Krishna in front of Vasudeva and Devaki within the jail or a cellar of Kamsa. So when Krishna appeared, let me show this. I am showing you this browser page, which is the further chapter 3 of the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Are you able to see this right now?
Yes, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay, thank you. So when Krishna appeared, there was something unique about it, which is in this, when Krishna appeared in the jail or the cellar of Kamsa. It was like today, it is August. This is the month of autumn. And in this month of autumn, it was an Krishna Ashtami day. Krishna Paksha Ashtami means it is the dark fortnight. And when there's a bright half and there's a dark half. During the dark half of the fortnight, the moon goes from being a full moon to a new moon. That is, the moon is not visible. And Ashtami Tithi is in between the Paurnami or the full moon and the Amavasya or the new moon. So the moon was not full. But then the Srimad Bhagavatam says that when Krishna appeared, it was as if the moon was full. So the appearance of Krishna creates something which is magical. And going further, yes, I will hide these controls. Yeah. And just like something here, the Srimad Bhagavatam tells in very, very poetic ways. I'll just express this verse in a song form. It goes this way. Mumachur munayo deva sumanam se mudanvita manda mandam jaladhara jagachuranu nishite tama udbhute jayamane janardhane devakyam devarupinyam vishnu sarva guhashaya avirasit yata prachayam disindo deva pushkala devakyam devarupinyam vishnu sarva guhashaya. So this verse, pardon me for my singing, I'm not good in singing. This verse says that the demigods and great saintly persons, what Krishna appeared, what did they do? They showered flowers in a very joyous mood. And the clouds gathered in the sky and mildly thundered. They thundered to tell, hey, here comes the Lord of the universe, whom we all are trying to actually approach. And these clouds, they made the sounds like that of the ocean waves, which is very pleasing sound. It is not startling sound, it's a pleasing sound. Then the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu, who is situated in the core of everyone's heart, appeared from the heart of Devaki in the dense darkness of night, like the full moon rising on the eastern horizon, because Devaki was of the same category as Krishna. So Krishna appeared in the womb of Mother Devaki, as Kumarika Mataji had said, because she had already been purified. Now, when Krishna appeared in front of Devaki, this is how he appeared. The first, he appeared in a very dark bluish complexion, and he had 4 arms. And when he had 4 arms, he also had on him a yellow dress. And this is mentioned explicitly in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So we commonly know that when a child is born, we call it as a birthday suit. A child is born naked. In fact, there is a phrase that people often say, we are born naked, or we go with nothing with us, and what are we doing struggling all along in this world, right? But when Krishna appeared, he was not born naked. He appeared with a dazzling yellow cloth. And this dazzling yellow cloth will be mentioned several times in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So Krishna's divinity was there right from birth. No child is born with 4 arms, and that too with conch, with with chakra, and with a kirita or a crown, etc. And he also had on him a garland. So this is the unique birth of Krishna. And as soon as he showed his form in this way, he also finally showed his form as a young boy Krishna, as you see in this picture. Now, why did Krishna show this form as in his 4-handed form and finally to become a 2-handed form here? Many millions of billions of years ago, Vasudeva and Devaki had, in their previous life, they were born as Prishni and Sutapa, and they conducted intense tapasya for several thousands of years. I am forgetting the number. It's either 12,000 or 12 million, but I can find it out and let you know. So for these many years, they conducted their tapasya so that they can get the Supreme Lord as their son. And why did they want him as a son? They said, we want a son who looks just like you. And by their tapasya, the Supreme Lord came and said, I will be born not as your son, not just once, but even 3 times. Not just once, but 3 times. And this is the sweetness of Krishna. We may go and ask him for something like, give me this, give me that. And he will say, oh, you want just this? No. I will give you even more. I will give you more than what you need. That is the sweetness of Krishna. He is not here to fulfill our wishes. He is there to overflow the pot of desire that we have. And does it mean that we need to be completely pure? When Prishni and Sutapa had conducted their intense tapasya to please the Supreme Lord to have a son, this was the Satya Yuga of an earlier era, they still had a desire that they should unite as a husband and wife. That was not the greatest of the desires as such. It is not a completely spiritual desire. It is not a spiritual desire actually. And yet, the Supreme Lord fulfilled the wish of somebody who still had other wishes too. And that's the one which gives the another aspect of the sweetness of Krishna. That we may be far less than perfect persons. And yet, Krishna will accommodate us because he's not looking for perfection in us. We often think that only when we are perfect, everything will happen in our lives. And some people have this problem with perfection. Everything has to be perfect. And if it is not perfect, they are angry with themselves, they're angry with others, etc. To such people, Krishna is saying, I'm not looking for perfection. I'm looking for a relationship. And that's how Krishna appears in front of people. That when we have an intensity of desire to have a relationship with him, he appears. And he takes care of the cleansing of the heart. This is how he appeared to Vasudeva and Devaki. But what about the gopis of Vrindavan? That's the verse which I was showcasing to you today, the one for the gopis of Vrindavan. This is a very, very, very famous verse within the section of the Srimad Bhagavatam called as the song of the Venu Gita. Like you all are reading the Bhagavad Gita. Likewise, within the Bhagavatam, there is something called as Rudra Gita, where Lord Shiva speaks about Krishna. Then there is Uddhava Gita, where Uddhava hears from Krishna. And this is Venu Gita. This is the song about the glorification of the flute. And here, I'll just recite this verse once more. Barha pidam natavara karnayo karnikaram vibradvashat kanakakapisham vaijayantim chamala randran veno radhara sudaya purayan gopa vrinde vrindaranyam swapadaramanam pravishad gita kirtihi. So in Vrindavan, after Krishna went back to Vrindavan and he began to herd the cows, it so happened that as he used to take the cows away from the village to the forests, as he used to go from the village to the forest, he used to create a festival of sorts. And he used to create a festival of sorts not by design, but just because the different sets of devotees would want to associate with him in different ways. So firstly, there were those who were watching him as he would go to the forest. And how was he dressed when he would go to the forest? Barha Pidam. He had a barha, a peacock feather on his head. And then as he would not just go walking along with the cows. He was the Natavara. He was the best of the dancers. And he had 2 ears, Karnayo. But what he would do is, he would have a particular, the Karnika is just a singular. On only one of his ears, he would have a blue lotus-like flower. And he was wearing these dresses. Why? He was wearing these dresses because, he used to decorate himself with one flower, with a peacock feather on his head, with a Vaijayanti mala, or it's a forest garland of flowers, and a sparkling yellow dress, because his devotees liked it in that way. It's not that he liked it, but it is because his devotees liked it that way. That is the other aspect of sweetness, which is that he does things what his devotees like him to be. He's not there that I like something and I want to do it. It's my devotees like it this way, and therefore I will do something for them. That's the other aspect of sweetness. And as he would go to the forest, he would play on his flute. And as he played on his flute, he used to take a bamboo flute which had holes in it. You know that when you take a bamboo tree and you cut the shoots of it and make a flute out of it, it is effectively lifeless. But when Krishna would play some musical notes on it, the flute would come to life. In the spiritual world, there is nothing like a non-living entity. Every so-called object also has life. There are no material objects. And so when Krishna would play his flute, because Krishna is the embodiment of nectar, when he would play the flute, the nectar from his lips would permeate the holes of the flute of the bamboo. And then from there, it would transform itself to a sound. And that sound would then enter the ears of all those who are attached to him. So Krishna was in the forest, many kilometers away. And as he would play his flute, the gopis in the village who were attached to him could hear his flute. And as they would hear his flute, they were overwhelmed and they wanted to express the greatness and the unique mercy of the flute, which is having the association of Krishna, but these gopis themselves are not having the association of Krishna. So then they got stunned that I want to express something, but their inner emotions are not allowing them to express. And Shukadev Goswami in the Srimad Bhagavatam was narrating this pastime to Parikshit Maharaj. As he was narrating it, he had this divine vision of seeing what was actually happening for the gopis. And these gopis, like when they heard the flute, the sound of the flute from Krishna, and when it stunned them, Shukadev Goswami didn't know what to say. Here was Parikshit Maharaj and all of the other sages hearing, but he was like giving a live commentary. And the gopis, when in his vision, they were stunned for some time. So instead of being quiet for some time, at that time, Shukadev Goswami said this verse, saying, this is the beauty of Krishna. This is the sweetness of Krishna, that he does activities for his devotees in ways that they want. And this is how Krishna appears. Just like for Vasudeva and Devaki, he appeared as a child for them to reciprocate what they wanted. For the gopis, they wanted to taste the nectar from Krishna's lips, and he gave them the nectar from his lips in the form of the sound of the flute. And in that way, this Janmashtami, let us see if we can try to serve Krishna in such a way that may he give us whatever sweetness that he wants in the way that he wants. And we'll continue with this and related themes throughout this week. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank you,
Prabhuji.
Prabhu.
Thank you,
Happy
Prabhuji.
Janmashtami
Hare
to all.
Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu. Happy Janmashtami to all.
Happy Janmashtami.